All right, so today we're talking about step or gate 2, and this is the gate to authority. And so the very first sheet I brought in today was for the client student evaluation. And so basically this is just what the coach is looking for and to help us to understand where you are in your recovery. Because if you're respectful or disrespectful, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're disrespectful. Might mean that you're actually further along in your recovery than if you're just respectful and going on and just being nice, okay? Being prepared or not being prepared, it's not something that we're going to say, oh, she's never prepared, so she's not going to make it. That's not the evaluation. The evaluation is to see over time in the next 12 weeks if you're going to be more prepared or less prepared, if there's going to be any change in what you're doing, okay? And that's the only way we could tell it, is to mark it on a scale. So if you're attentive or not attentive, if you get better with your being able to look into what's going on. All right, how about your personal appearance? How is your hygiene? Are you positive? Are you negative? Are you friendly, not friendly? Are you hyper? Are you inactive? These are the things. Are you friendly? Some people are friendly, but that doesn't mean that doesn't have anything to do or mean that this is what the coach is saying, that she's going to be out of here in a week. It's over time. We listen to you over time. And that's what the improvement. You have to have measurable improvements in your life or you're not going to have improvements. Okay? All right, so week 2 deals with authority. And with authority, there's 3 phases of authority that has to be restored. One is authority. How do you relate to God as the ultimate authority? How do you relate to yourself as getting your authority back? And then others, how do you relate to other people's and their authority? So there's 3 different areas of authority that has to be restored. All right, so the first key is that God can help you. The second key is I must commit. And the third key, I choose love. Job 5:8 says, as for me, I would seek God and inquire of and require of him, and to God would I submit my cause. Okay, so my action steps this week are to read a chapter of Proverbs each night before beginning with the end of with the day of the month. And the reason we ask you to do it at night before you go to bed is because that is an Eastern understanding, Jewish understanding. The Bible says the evening and the morning were the first day. And so when you do something at the last time of the night, it settles more in your subconscious, or that's what the Orientals or the Hebrews think. All right, so then you write in your journal every day. Okay, and you're writing what's going on with you, and maybe what's going on with other people, but how that relates to you in the journal. The journal is just, again, another way of writing, is teaching your mind to calm down, teaching your brain to be calmer. Then continue in a daily prayer time. Choose to meditate, which means to meditate on the Word of God, or something positive. Focus thinking about a positive verse or thought. Personally choose a scripture to commit to memory. Write it on a memory card and put your name in the appropriate slots to make it more personal. One of the things that was interesting to me was that worry is equated with focused thinking. So when you're constantly worried, you're focused, you're thinking on something negative. So when we're meditating, we're focusing our thinking on something positive. Okay? So that's a way to say we sometimes will say, well, I can't meditate, I don't know how to do it. But if you can worry, you can meditate, because you're focusing your thinking on one particular situation. Okay? All right, questions, what will you do to commit to rebuilding the authority in your life? And that's a question you have to think about, again, over time. Who is in your life that you consider to be an authority? Because, we don't necessarily think that jail's an authority over us, because we just do that time. And so you have to figure out who has authority, who can speak into your life to tell you no, and who has how has prayer played a part in your life? So particularly about how has prayer, why has prayer worked? If it hasn't, might not have worked. That's up to you. You have to know, again, your whole goal of being at Bethesda is to know yourself and to take the time to know yourself.
Are we considering authority from others and ourselves? Our authority that we put out and what authority we let in?
I think that's however you perceive that question. That's right. Whatever you answer. Yeah. See, if I tell you, then you don't give me what you actually think. That's right. I say, what is your commitment level to prayer? Who has been committed to you? That's a big question. Who in your life has really been committed to you? And how do you know that? How do you know they've been committed to you? What does that mean to you? You want to think about these things and make them a part of your normal walking around life. Because again, what we actually believe may not be the truth. And until we look at it, we may not know whether it's the truth or not. Okay, who have you committed to the past? What part of your life have you committed to? All right? Do you believe God can restore you to sanity? That's the question. What does sanity mean to you? That's a big question. What does that mean? Okay. How do your feelings affect your belief that God can restore you to sanity? And what will you believe God for today? Talk about your disease and what you believe about it being a disease. The question might be whether you even think you got a disease. And what has it done to you? Okay. Consider addiction. And what is your picture of addiction? Okay. Okay. All right. So you also make a goal for week 2. What are your goals for week 2? What do you want to accomplish with your recovery in week 2? Again, you're here to recover from addiction. I mean, court ordered, mama ordered, or daddy ordered.
God ordered.
God ordered. Holy Ghost apprehended. You're here because of that, because He knows what our program's about. And so there's no other reason. I mean, a lot of it we might think we have, so we want to make our goals specific to our recovery. All right, and then you'll see on the next page that we have areas of priorities. And a lot of times we don't know how to do priorities. What is the most important priority in your life for this week? What is something that I need to accomplish? What's important? I was talking to somebody about putting things off. We procrastinate for things we don't want to do, but that does not necessarily mean they're not a priority. Things that you have to do with your probation, where would you put those? What category would you have those in?
1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's important. Because they're requiring you to be.
They're in the top 5 for sure.
And that's exactly. You better be there, because if you're not, I mean, because would you say that they were in your top priority before you came into recovery or before you came here? I would say no. Or again, most of y'all are here because you violated probation, right? Okay, so they would not be in a high priority situation. So learning how to stay out of jail might be a good priority. Just saying. So, all right, so in learning how to do that, what's it going to take? What it's going to take for me to be out of jail? So, all right. And then the next page has to do with exploring your beliefs. Again, this has to do with what do you believe, not what I believe. And I love these sentences. So when you answer them, you just automatically, whatever comes to your mind first, that's what you put down. That's your automatic thought. See, so I always whatever. I never do that. They are whatever. So that's, my team is non-existent. I mean, life is all about, I love. And the reason you want to write them down is because you're getting them out of your head and into your vision to see, oh, well, if I'm always bored, then there's something not going right with what I'm doing. You have to be able to recognize it. Or my work is degrading. or my work doesn't satisfy me. I mean, I'm just using negative terms now, but if my work is wonderful, then you wouldn't want to change your work. But if my work was something that made me feel less than, then I might would say that that's an area that I need to work on. Okay. All right. So you're doing this, preparing your paperwork to talk to somebody about your life changes. I think yesterday Miss Joyce talked to y'all about stages of change. Okay, right. And so pre-contemplation is you don't even have a problem. You don't even care. It's no big deal. Y'all got that, right? And then contemplation is thinking about change. Yeah. So, and then action. Yeah. Maintenance. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So change is a big. What you're here for is to change. You're not here for any other reason. I mean, that's what we call it, what we want. And you're the one that determines how much change. Whether you'll go, our goal is to move you from wherever you are to one stage. So if you're in pre-contemplation, if I can just get you or to introduce enough information so that you'll think about making a change, okay? That's important. So that's very important. Or if you're in pre-contemplation, or if you're in contemplation, maybe we get to you to action stage, or action stage we get to you to maintenance, or whatever is the next stage. You know, just moving you a little bit. You can't move from pre-contemplation all the way over to a finished maintenance and, you know, quickly. You just can't, because it won't be sustainable. All right? Then this week is really working on forgiveness and the need to forgive. And this packet was taken from, I thought I had it written in here what book it was from, but apparently I don't. So it talks about how to forgive. And forgiveness is, again, one of the core basic functions of how we get our core beliefs changed. Because our negative core beliefs mostly come from something that's happened to us. This is like clarify the need for forgiveness. Okay. All right. So sometimes in this packet it's going to talk about the need to acknowledge your pain. Sometimes we don't want to talk about our pain. We don't want to discuss it. That's fine. Again, it's wherever the level of you're at. But forgiveness is not about washing it under, what did you say the other day? Putting it under the rug. Sweeping it under the rug, you know, and saying it's okay. Because things that have happened to us are not okay. Forgiveness does not make them right. Forgiveness releases the person of their responsibility to make it better for you. So when I forgive somebody, I don't require them to pay me back. So if you have does that make sense? Okay, prior to that, if I have unforgiveness in my heart, I think that there's something you can do to make my life better, because you made my life worse. That's my thinking. Does that make sense? Okay, but forgiveness says no, there's nothing you can do, so I release you. I paid in full. No more requirements. Debt done. So I can heal, that's right. Now that doesn't mean that I'm going to go back. Forgiveness doesn't mean that I'm going to go and be best buddies with you. I may have a relationship with you, but I may not have a relationship with you. Forgiveness does not require relationship. Okay, so keep that in mind. It does not require relationship. Forgiveness means it's not in your head anymore. How many of the things that you carry around in your head that they are still able to affect the things that you're doing every day? That's unforgiveness. So, all right, so to help you about the next 2 pages, talks about Colleen, but to help you discover whether you have a legitimate struggles, this is a little test, and it's a good test. So my life has been adversely impacted by someone who has had serious personal problems. Okay. I've had a willingness to work out interpersonal tensions, yet it has not borne fruit. In other words, I wanted to have a better relationship, but it didn't work. The person who wronged me knew he or she was doing wrong, but persisted anyway. In spite of my attempts to be reasonable, I have been faced with stubbornness and repeated wrongs. I feel that my good nature my good nature was clearly taken advantage of. My sense of trust or loyalty immediately worked to my disadvantage. My desire for a fair and pleasing relationship was not matched with a similar commitment or enthusiasm. As I look back upon the wrong behavior of another person toward me, I realize it was propelled by selfish and controlling motives. The misdeeds of the other person toward me could have been altered, but were not. I have felt as if I was being treated as an inferior person. So how many items did you mark? If you could respond to at least 5 or more of the above statements, there's a strong likelihood that you have in fact been on the receiving end of clearly wrong treatment. You have a good reason to feel badly. So forgiveness is not just saying, I don't need to feel bad about this. If you're, let's say somebody stole $10,000 from you, let's make it big, or $10,000 from you, and they have not given it back to you. They've made they're not going to make amends for it. They're not giving it back to you, and you're still walking around every day mad as fire about it. Who's it hurting? It's hurting you. So you have to let go of the fact that they're ever going to pay you back. Does it mean that you're going to go out there and give them $10,000 more dollars? No. Does it mean that you're even going to want to be in the same room with them? No. But you can let that go so it's not going to be affecting your life and the relationships that you're going to have another time. For example, if you meet a person that sounds like that person, you're not going to immediately think, oh, that he's just like Joe Blow and he's going to take my money. You see, we don't want that to be effective in our lives. If there is evidence that he is like Joe Blow, evidence means that there's something really going on, then I want to be able to deal with that. But if not, I want to be able to let that stuff go. It's important because we do tend to judge people based on other people's behavior. Have you ever known that? Or we like them or don't like them. I was real good at that. I was very good at that, deciding if I liked them or didn't like them based on what they looked like, because they might look like somebody I knew before. They might act like, they might have, well, not really act like. They would have one behavior, not all behaviors. So I could easily decide if they were worth being bothered with or not. So, but forgiveness releases us of that control that they have on us making new relationships, us being able to move forward in life, period, or even being able to work in a different job, because sometimes we have hang-ups that take us into jobs that we wish we hadn't taken. Okay. All right. Sometimes we blame ourselves for what's happened to us in the past, and so that leads to a lot of bitterness as well, and we need the washing and cleansing of the Lord to be able to get that done. This one particularly talks about unfair blame and how we can decide if a person is blamable. So accusations. When you go to court, what happens when you go to court? I mean, I don't know that. Hush, Kathy. Get out of that head. But what would be evidence of a particular court judgment? What would the judge want to know, whether he was going to send you to jail or he was going to let you go? What would have to be what would he have to know? Yeah, well, how would he know that? What would it be? Evidence. What kind of evidence would it have to be?
Evidence for yourself that you didn't do it, or negative evidence that somebody else did do it.
Okay, it has to be provable. Right, exactly. So, if you have evidence that's provable, so what if it was, I don't know, Lord Jesus, y'all give me an example. Pictures, oh, you had somebody taking pictures of you actually doing the deed, that would be provable, right? I mean, I know we could go to an extreme and say not, but that would be provable evidence that something had actually taken place, right?
If
Okay.
you had,
What else would be? What?
I'm just thinking about what they had on there. If they had the evidence.
Oh.
They had dust.
Okay, yeah, okay, so there was drug residue would be evidence.
There
Okay,
wasn't enough to test.
okay,
Testimony.
right. Testimony of others, that's right. So there would be evidence. So when we're doing the same thing happens in our life, when we're dealing with other people, you've been, okay, so the judge or the policeman has been in situations before, but he can't just say, well, she looks like a drug addict, so I'm gonna arrest her. Can he? Well, he can, but he's not gonna get anywhere with the judge. Let's just go to the judge. Because the judge is gonna say, well, how, you know, whatever. Tell me what is your evidence, not just your opinion. It's what the difference is in the opinion, my opinion, and real evidence. And so that's what I want you to understand when we're looking and we're making these decisions about other people. Where is the evidence? Where is the actual evidence? And you have to decide that. You're the judge. You're the judge and jury of every relationship that you have. You're the one. Okay? All right. Okay, and then on the next page, this talks about be aware of historical messages discounting your feelings. So, what would that mean, historical messages? What would you think that would mean?
Something in the past.
That's right. Something that's in your past that has discounted your feelings. It's not necessarily happening now, but they're messages from your past that made you feel worthless, right? Okay, all right. So, and they need to be addressed in however you address them, with yourself, with God, with other people. Generally, people do better with having help, okay? All right, to get the idea of how strongly you've been impacted by historical messages in validating your feelings, let's just look at this together. In my past, I often felt my perceptions were not considered valid, okay? Even when I had logical explanations for my emotions, they still were not accepted. It was a rare day in my home when we discussed deep personal or emotional matters. There were times when I just said nothing even though I felt a lot. I have struggled with resentments over the fact that others couldn't understand me. And when I would speak my mind, I got in trouble. Sometimes I wonder if others consider my perspectives to be imbalanced. I've told others exactly how I feel only to realize they didn't really care. At times, I can be hard on myself, discounting the legitimacy of my emotions. Sometimes it seems that I try too hard to fit the mold others have for me. So if you've placed an X by 5 or more of these statements, it suggests that you probably have a history of questioning your feelings. While you may have been subjected to wrong, you may feel odd in openly declaring just how hurt you feel. This is not good, since it means you will probably live with too many unresolved, suppressed emotions. So, let's affirm that you're very normal to feel what you feel. Whatever you feel, people have feelings, and you can have those feelings, but what are you going to do with them? That's the question. You have to decide. Like I told you earlier, you can decide that you basically are not going to make a change. That's your choice. I mean, I did it. I've done it plenty of times. So it's based on what your perspective is and where you are. And when we talked in the earlier session about anger management, the counselor in there said one thing that was really important, which I really believe, that until your current situation causes enough pain, more pain than what you're gaining out of it, you're not likely to change. So we experience pain to change. And if our addiction has not caused us enough pain, or, for example, we go into, say, detox or rehab, and we're experiencing what we consider more pain there than we did out on the other side, guess what's going to happen? You're going to go back. It's just the way it is. It's not a judgment, it's just the way it is. We as human beings are not going to suffer too much pain. Just can't do it. Okay, so this goes on. It's a pretty good lengthy little work on forgiveness. And it's good if you've done it once and you do it again. It certainly doesn't hurt us to go back over this, because trust me, for me, I don't know about you, but for myself, forgiveness has been an issue that continues to be an issue in my life. So it's not over. Okay, so then there's a little bit of information on the Wheel of Life assessment. I just want to talk to you about that. And what areas of life, what are your key areas? And this is 8 that they use to just kind of see for yourself where you're most satisfied. So you do a 1 through 10, and if you're 1, or let's see, yeah. So the first area the first area is, how do you feel about what your career is? You know, what do you do with your time and your money? You're not working now, but some of you are on disability. What do you do with your money and your time? Are you satisfied with where it is? Or what in the past, when you have held a job, what did you do with your time and your money then? Okay, and your finances. How do you manage your money? You know, do you have anything now? Where are you? How do you feel about it? You have to decide. You know, how do you feel about managing your money? Do you have any or not? Then your friends and family, what are important about your platonic relationships? Do you have somebody that you care about other than the people that you're quote unquote in love with? Do you have good relationships with your family? Would you like to be better? Those are things. And then fun and recreation, guiltless earned pleasure. So when you do fun and you have recreation, do you even have any recreation or fun? Do you know how to have entertainment? What kind of entertainment have you tried? So these are places, and these are areas of life that have nothing to do with whether you're an addict or not. This is normal life relationships. Where are you going to be? Because if you don't have these are what the whole world considers as a balanced life, is to have these areas of your life, and some others too, working very well. All right, so health and fitness. Where are you in your health and fitness? You might be healthy and you might feel good about yourself there, but you might be really having a problem with your friends and your family. So your love life, your significant other, your personal or your spiritual development, things that you want to develop for you. And spiritual and personal development is about knowing yourself. What is it going on with yourself? And then the physical environment, your physical location. Are you happy with where you're at? Where you're going to live? What is your plan for that? See, and if you don't have one, then that's what area you might want to begin to think about and work on in your mind and in your physicality. You can't. Well, how am I going to get a job? What kind of job am I going to be able to sustain? That kind of stuff. Or am I going to be able to have the kind of life that I need? On disability or whatever, am I going to be able to sustain my life myself? Those are things you have to question and start thinking about now. Okay, so what kind of ride would you have in your life if it was a real wheel? You know, is everything even or some parts flat? And, so that kind of, and then what areas would you think you need to work on? Those are questions that would be good for you to think about. Yeah, most of us do have not really balanced in our life. Sorry to say that. So that's why we have to have coaches. All your life, no matter what, you ought to have somebody that's on your side, that's coaching you, saying, asking you these questions. Is your life doing good? Or where are you struggling at? And helping you to move forward in that area. Okay, and there's your blank instruction. Then you have a personality test, and that's always interesting to take this test and see where you're at. And there's 4 basic personalities. The popular sanguine, which that's the life of the party person, and they're pretty animated and pretty, let's see, over the top. And they can be, it depends on which part of the other part of their personality are. The powerful choleric is the person that's the born leader. They're gonna be bossy and take over for the most part. The perfect melancholy is the person that is a very analytical. They file everything, make lists of everything. They tend to be great organizers, powerful friends, because once they're your friends, they never give up on you. Peaceful phlegmatics are the peacemakers of the group. And so in your life, you don't want to just all be around, because you might think, well, I'm a popular sanguine, I just need to be around popular sanguines. We need to be that's the kind of people I need to be around. But in reality, you need one of all of these, a friend that has all of these personalities, so that they can help you balance out your personality. So it's good to know that. Okay. It's those kids over there. Okay, and then there's a note on here, what makes your heart sing? Yeah. And it says, allow yourself 10 to 15 minutes of quiet time and write your answers in the spaces below. Add to the list extra things that will come up for you in the days and weeks ahead. What are my top 10 joys of life? What makes my heart sing? What makes your heart just be so excited and thrilled? And you may or may not know 10 right now, but you know 1, and that's where you start. Knowing what makes you happy. So it says, just for a moment, perhaps imagine you're blissfully happy and feeling true joy. You feel free and light of all cares and worries. You can't help but smile, whether within or without, and you feel relaxed, at peace with yourself and the world. And perhaps you feel a glow from within and a tightness in your heart.